glad you're here. And if you will look out in front of you right now, you'll see North American T-28 Trojan trainer. First flown in 1949. The Navy wanted one first. The Air Force picked up on it, put an 800 horsepower motor on it. And it was okay for the Air Force, but it was not good enough for the United States Navy. So the Navy decided to make some modifications. 1,425 horsepower motor on the front and the T-28B and C model Trojan. Backwards in time. The first of these Navy SNJ Texan aircraft rolled off North American Aviation's factory in Texas in 1938. Yes, this is the 71st birthday of the Texan. Here comes the Trojan, then the Texan. Now we're going to go back even farther. The aircraft that's right in front of show center with the blue and yellow tail and the red band in the middle of the fuselage and otherwise yellow, known as the Yellow Peril, followed by another one, is the Navy's biplane primary trainer from World War II, known as the Stearman N2S. Also with radial engine, that generated about 220 to 225 horsepower, depending on whether it was a Jacobs, a Lycoming, or a Continental. One of these Stearmans is being flown by Stan Bloyer. Stan Bloyer is a retired U.S. Navy captain, had 26 years of active duty service to our country. He commanded an A-7 Corsair II squadron. Aboard the Forrestal, he flew T-28s, S-2s, F-9Fs, A-7s, A-6s, F-A-18 Hornets, F-14 Tomcats, 1,100 carrier landings, saw combat in Vietnam and Libya and Iraq. And currently, Stan Bloyer also flies a B-25 Mitchell bomber, the B-17 Superfortress, the MiG-21 Russian fighter, and several others, lives in Fort Walton Beach. And today, Stan Bloyer is flying an aircraft that travels, typically 105 to 110 miles an hour. Open cockpit, not much more fun than flying on a day like this in an open cockpit biplane. Low and slow, as they call it. Depending on whose history book you read, and I will say that several times throughout the day, depending on whose history book you read, somewhere between 10,500 and 15,000 Stearmans were built. They were all known as primary trainers. Now, the United States Army Air Force called them PT-17s or PT-13s or PT-18s. Depending on the engine. The PT-13 had a Lycoming engine, the PT-18 had a Jacobs engine, and the PT-17 had a Continental engine. But the Navy's Yellow Peril was the primary trainer through which naval aviation cadets would work the syllabus up to more and more complex airplanes, ending with the SNJ that you see flying up overhead with the blue tail to the left. No, wait a minute, that one, I'm sorry, that one's the T-28 Trojan that came in later. No, that is there's the Stearman with the yellow up and to the left banking in right there, 6. Smoke on, here we go. This is 600 horsepower coming for a high-speed pass. Let's listen. little combination of the radial engine sound and the propeller tips of the big Hamilton standard propellers going supersonic at about 2,250 or 2,300 revolutions per minute. Just the tips going supersonic, so you're hearing mini sonic booms there. The T-28 Trojan now inbound for its high-speed pass. Maximum speed of the SNJ Texan was about 260 miles an hour. This one got over 300 at full speed. That is one of the most distinctive sounds of any radial engine airplane that's around. That's an honoring of the VF-31 Tomcatters from Naval Air Station Oceana in Virginia Beach, Virginia, where the Tomcatters are. They used to fly F-14 Tomcats. Now they've switched over to the Navy's FA-18 Hornet and Super Hornet aircraft. Now that smoke you see coming out of the back is environmentally safe smoke, so you don't have to worry about a thing, folks. Made from a light paraffin-based oil. It's injected into the exhaust stacks of the airplane, and it burns white. And we'll see more air show smoke throughout the day with a lot of our performers helping them paint their performances in the sky here above Naval Air Station Pensacola. The most maneuverable and the most exciting lineup of air show performers and aircraft assembled in the country right here at Naval Air Station Pensacola, the cradle of naval aviation. It's a world-class air show, folks, and it just doesn't get any better than this. We start right now as we see the parade of trainers coming into the show area right now, representing some of the aircraft and units that are working here at Naval Air Station, Pensacola, Florida. As we look at these trainers come in, let me tell you a little about them. They're from Training Wing 6, with its 3 squadrons, preparing and graduating over 450 naval flight officers and weapons systems officers annually for the United States Navy, Air Force, and Marine Corps. And we saw go through just a moment ago the Saberliner, the resilient T-39 Sabreliner, and coming in right now we call it the T-1A Jayhawk. This one flown by Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Pete Roller and Jason Werchin, and Air Force Major Michael Rafferty. The twin-engine Jayhawk is used extensively in the intermediate stage of instruction to include both low-altitude visual navigation and medium-altitude airways navigation. The T-39 Sabreliner, being flown this weekend by several different crews, including Navy Commander James Reynolds, Navy Commander Jim Davis. And the aircraft has become the trustworthy and dependable workhorse for intermediate and advanced jet syllabus schooling students in the concepts of low-altitude jet navigation, air-to-air intercepts, and the employment of the APG-66 radar. Scooting by so very, very quickly, the namesake of the T-6 Texan, and followed by the T-45 Goshawks. Look at those beautiful trainers. Let me tell you about the T-6 Texan 2. The two of them that went through just a second ago. The first one was flown by Navy Captain Frank Robotham, and who's the Commodore of Training Air Wing 6, Navy Captain Michael Prosperi. Aircraft number 2 is flown by Lieutenant on the fundamentals of air combat maneuvering during the advanced stages of training. Coming through once again, there's the T-39 Sabreliner. The team of instructors here at Training Wing 6 is proud of the well-rounded curriculum of academics and simulator training and flight training, as well as the reputation of producing the highest quality military flight officers in the world. However, without the strong and enduring backing of the numerous civilian and military maintenance, administrative, and support personnel, this could not happen. Their dedication and professional skill and contributions to naval aviation and Air Force aviation are second to none, and they deserve our deepest gratitude. Let's give a nice round of applause to all the aircraft from Training Wing 6. Breaking to the left, that's the T-1A Jayhawk. Well, T-39 Sabreliner was first produced in the late 1950s, believe it or not. North American Aviation at that time, later becoming Rockwell, submitted the NA-246 Sabreliner as a contender, and it entered service with the United States Air Force back in 1962. The Beech T-1A Jayhawk that you see way out just to the left of the tower has become one of the standard training tools for the United States Air Force. And the Air Force actually decided to use a civilian business jet to become one of its trainers. Rolling out right now. Here's the T-1A Jayhawk. Training Wing 6, 3 squadrons, graduating, as I mentioned, 450 naval flight officers and weapon systems officers annually. Not only for the United States Navy, as the T-6 Texan II flight zooms overhead and into their break, but not only is Training Wing 6 taking care of the United States Navy, Marine Corps, and the Air Force, but also the international militaries of Germany, Italy, Saudi Arabia, and Singapore. The elite cadre of flight instructors in VT-4 Warbucks, the VT-10 Wildcats, and the VT-86 Saberhawks fly a total of 4 different type model aircraft that you're seeing here today. The T-6 Texan II follows in that long line of Texan trainers from back in World War II, and here is the T-45 Goshawk. When the Navy wanted a new trainer, it looked at several aircraft before deciding on Britain's well-established Hawk. Given the designation T-45 and named the Goshawk, the aircraft is manufactured here in the U.S. by McDonnell Douglas and now Boeing. It's become the standard flying schoolhouse for all who earn the wings of gold worn by U.S. naval aviators. The T-45 replaced the T-2 Buckeye and the Douglas TA-4J Skyhawk, known as the Scooter, an aircraft which in its single-seat configuration was flown by the Blue Angels a number of years ago. The T-6 Texan II flight landing on the parallel runway closest to us. You can see it rolling out. Back in the 1990s, the United States government, the Department of Defense, put out a competition, or established a competition, to find a new trainer for both the United States Air Force and the United States Navy. The Joint Primary Air Training System, or JPATS as it was known, and this is the aircraft that won that competition. Carrying the name of the venerable Texan from World War II, This is the airplane that is an amazing aircraft for students to fly. Simulating the handling of a jet, it's very, very economical and very, very nimble as a primary trainer. On the far runway, on their landing rollout, you see those Boeing T-45 Goshawks. The maximum speed of the Goshawk is 618 miles per hour. Following through, next, the T-1A Jayhawk with two Pratt & Whitney Canada JT-15D turbojet engines, each of which generates about 3,000 pounds of thrust. Gets up to about 530 miles an hour at altitude. The T-6 Texan IIs, take a look at those. They will be in use by the United States Navy and Marine Corps and Air Force and many other nations for years to come with their turboprop engines over 300-mile-an-hour top speed. And the Boeing T-45 Goshawks. They have Rolls-Royce turbofan engines in them. Each of that engine generates nearly 6,000 pounds of thrust. Look at how high the instructor sits above the student pilot. That gives the instructor extremely good visibility. And again, the aircraft, incredibly maneuverable and quick with a top speed of over 615 miles per hour. And a rate of climb from sea level that gets started of 7,000 feet per minute. That's over 1 mile each and every minute. Coming up in just a minute, let me just give you a little bit of a rundown of a number of the acts that we're going to have performing